So I've been a mom for over a year. It's now been almost 14 months. So let's do my honest opinions about motherhood. One of the things that you learn to cherish really quickly are the little things, the little self-care moments you get when you get to finally take a shower and you want to take care of yourself, because let me tell you, peak motherhood postpartum, you're not feeling too hot about yourself. Which is why I'm so grateful to Billy for working with me on this video. I'm so happy I discovered them because now I'm going to continue to use their products. They're amazing. One of the things that really drew me to working with Billy is their marketing and their, you know, zero shame around body hair. Because shaving or not shaving is a complete personal choice, and what you choose to and choose not to shave is completely up to you. Personally, I only maintain my underarms with a razor, and you know, I don't even remember the last time I shaved my legs. Probably over 5 or 6 years since I've shaved my legs, and that's just a personal preference. Another thing that I think is really great about Billy is their price point. I think it's fantastic. They have a $10 bundle where you get the razor handle in really cute colors. I love this one. This is periwinkle, and it comes with 2 razor heads and this little magnetic stand for in your shower to keep your razor clean and dry. And I think $10 is a really great price point for all of that, because the razors you can find at the drugstore are often more than that, and they always do free shipping, always. I also loved the body buffer bar. I used that on my underarms. I think it's really great at making sure there's no extra deodorant buildup before you shave. It just makes sure you get like a really clean, close shave. And I have to talk about the whipped shave cream. This is probably my favorite thing because it is just so pretty. And I know that's really weird to say about a shave cream, but it's like pearlescent. It's fluffy the way it, you know, dispenses. It just is pretty. And of course the razors are so nice. I love the spacing between the razors. I think it's perfect because you still get a close shave, but it's not so close, you know, the razors aren't so close together where it gets clogged really quickly. Right now they're offering my viewers 10% off your $20 order if you use my code Sarah. I think their price point is already fantastic, so I would definitely recommend checking out the body buffer bar. And then you get extra 10% off on top of that. I mean, how could you resist? So I've been very open and honest about my experience throughout this whole process, starting with pregnancy and finding out I'm pregnant. Like, I've just shown you the whole journey to now. So I thought, why stop there? Let's continue it. As long as I'm doing videos, I'll continue to share what motherhood is actually like and share my honest opinions. With that being said, every person and every experience and every child is different. So this is just my experiences, and it might not be yours. If you're someone who is debating having children or thinking that you might one day, this is just my experiences of having a child. Let's start with the cliches, okay? Time truly changes when you have a child. Time both moves faster and slower all at the same time. The cliche that the days are long but the years are short, very true. And I don't know how many times I'm gonna say in this video how hard it is, but it's really hard. It's storming. It's like so windy outside. It's distracting. All the trees are like going. Anyway, this is truly the hardest experience of my life. And I think it was really emphasized. I don't like talking about how hard my life is or like everything I've been through, because it feels like a pity party for myself. And I'm not trying to sound like that. I'm just expressing like what I went through while also being a mom. But obviously last year was easily the hardest year of my life, but it's weird because it was also juxtaposed with the best year of my life. Go figure. Logic does not make sense. But obviously first year of Fern's life, she was born in December of 2022. So all of last year was my experience with her. But in April, I lost my dad. So she was like 3.5 months old when that happened. And I saw him for the last time the day we got our keys to move into this place. So I was moving, 3.5-month-old, still like just getting out of the newborn phase, and then I lose a parent. So last year, let's just say I'm a completely different human being to who I was before I got pregnant. Oh my God. I look at old me in old videos and pictures and I'm like, who is that? I just want to give her a hug because she would probably think that she would never make it, that she would never do the things that I do now. Like, she would never think that she could do it. And that is one of the things that I wanted to talk about, is that if I knew how hard this actually would be on top of everything else I was going to go through at the same time, like losing my dad, which I've always dreaded, always dreaded. I mean, who doesn't dread the loss of their parent? But that one was really tricky for me. That one was hard to navigate, and then he didn't have a will, so like I've been doing a lot of legal stuff. We finally sold his house. I know I've given you guys some updates here and there on the channel before about selling his house. We finally sold it. It's sold. But anyway, having to do all of that on top of it being my first year of being a mom, of trying to do this, like, if I knew all of that before I had her, I would have told you, no, I can't do that. I'm not gonna do that. And I'm not gonna say like I'm not gonna do that. I just wouldn't have done it now. I've always wanted to be a mom. I'm someone who always knew that I wanted to have kids. I didn't expect to have her when we did, although it wasn't like that much of a surprise, right? We're adults. But I didn't know how hard it was. And had I known, I mean, obviously you know to an extent, like you see other people, you listen to a lot of experiences, so you kind of form your own judgment on the difficulties of parenthood. But until you're actually in it, and I know that's so annoying to hear, but it is something you just cannot imagine until you are doing it. But that being said, it is not present day you that is going to do it. You are going to transform literally overnight when you give birth or when you become a parent, however that may be. Transformation overnight. You're a different person on that day that you welcome your child completely. And it's almost automatic. It does take some time to warm up to it, obviously. I'm still failing as a parent on a daily basis in some way, right? Nobody is perfect, and we do try our best. But anyway, that's my first thing, is it's hard. Okay, if I knew how hard it was, I would have waited, but obviously I'm getting up there in years, and if I ever want to have a second one, I kind of needed to do it then. So there's two biggest pieces of advice I'm going to sprinkle in here and there in the video, just in case any of you are in the thick of it right now, in the newborn stage, or you are wanting children one day. Two things I have to say about that. One, it's not your time. It's not your time to thrive. It's okay to mourn your past and reminisce about when you didn't have a child. That doesn't make you a bad person. It is something that you will miss for a long time. But it is not your time to thrive, okay? It's not your time. You can put in all the effort if you want to your appearance and, you know, but if you're a mom specifically, or, you know, someone who has given birth to the child, you're not gonna feel great no matter what. Like, you're not gonna feel 100% yourself, and that's okay, because it is a phase that will pass. I promise you it will pass. I just recently got back into that. I chopped all my hair off. I kind of regret that. I did the mom chop, mostly for breastfeeding because the hair was just in the way. So it was mostly functional, but also I just didn't know what else to do because I didn't feel like myself. And I was like, well, this new person needs a new physical appearance. And I hated how I looked, and I'm still getting over that personally. I never really talk about my like insecurities physically because I just feel like I don't want to waste my breath on that, because it doesn't matter. Like, my appearance doesn't matter, but I do have a lot of insecurities that were just highlighted with pregnancy and, you know, birthing and, you know, my body and everything afterwards. I'm insecure here and there, but you know what? I just accept that it is not my time to thrive right now. I can thrive another time. Have I passed my prime? Maybe, in society standard, but I know I will find myself fully again. I am working my way there. I feel so much better now than I did last year, let me tell you. And I know that that time is on the horizon, and that's really hard to grasp, but you kind of have to, because you have a little human to take care of, and it's not about you. And you have to completely let go of any attachment to like how you feel about yourself or how you look, and just, for one, focus on recovery on your body, right? It's a lot on your body. You need to focus on your physical health first, and also your child. And I feel like just putting everything else aside, nothing else matters. And my second most important piece of advice is that the current stage you are in is always going to be the hardest stage. So whatever stage you're in is the hardest stage. Now that, you know, isn't always true. I stand by the fact that the newborn stage is probably the hardest. Right now is really hard. Right now is really fresh toddler, but something about the sleep deprivation from the newborn stage Nothing is harder than the sleep deprivation because one of your basic needs is never met for months. I don't know if people know how difficult that is, but I stand by the fact that my newborn stage, not fun. Again, every baby is different. Some babies sleep really well. She has never slept well. Not once. Not one time. I got to a point around 8-9 months where she would only wake twice a night. Only 2 times a night, people, and it was great. We're not doing that anymore. So, but you know what? That's okay. It's just she's not a sleeper. She's not a sleeper. She's fighting her nap right now, actually. But no matter how hard a phase is or whatever stage you're in, no matter how hard it is, it's going to pass. It has to. They grow up. Right? And it sounds hard when you look at it in the span of years. So every stage passes, no matter what. And I just want to go back and hold and hug myself from the newborn stage and be like, this is going to pass. I promise you. I scrolled on TikTok. I saw the mom saying this too shall pass in the newborn stage. And I didn't believe him. I was like, it's always I'm never gonna sleep again. I'm never gonna sleep. And that's just my life now for years and years. And I did sleep, not well, still broken sleep every single night, but that's okay. I'm getting more sleep now than I did then, and it passed and we're through it. Now, I did get some questions from Instagram and I'll be answering more specific ones at the end of this video, but one of the ones I saw was kind of like, what were you surprised by? And it was actually how easy I found pregnancy and birth. Now, I did a birth story, I did pregnancy videos, so you guys probably already know my experiences by now, but I was so scared of labor and birth, you know, like everyone. I feel like a lot of people are terrified of that because you don't know what that feeling is, and you just hear that it's the most excruciating thing in the world. Like any pain anyone can feel, it's the most painful thing in the world next to burning alive. That doesn't sound like fun. Like no one really wants to do that. And I found that the whole hospital experience, like the actual, not in the after room, that was difficult, but the actual birthing room and like doing all of that jazz, getting the epidural, it was fine. And you know, obviously mom brain makes you forget anything that you went through. I mean, I remember things and details, but it's like, it is blurry. The pain is definitely blurry. Obviously I remember it was painful, and I compare it to period cramps, but like the worst ones you can imagine because they're essentially the same thing. Like contractions just to me feel like period cramps, like really, really, really bad. So that part scared me more in the beginning than actually taking care of a child. Like I'll figure that out later, you know, and I did and I do. So if you're scared of that too, like you do figure it out. But I wasn't really focused on that so much as I was like the labor and the birth. Like I was so petrified of that moment, and I was like, she has to get here, like I don't have a choice, like she has to come out. And I would try to like put it in the back of my mind every day, like knowing that has to happen at some point, but trying not to think about it. And it worked for the most part, but I was still scared deep down. I was scared to go into labor. And that ended up being like the pregnancy, loved being pregnant. That and the labor and delivery ended up being pretty easy for me overall compared to like what I'm dealing with now and like the difficulties. They're obviously not comparable, but I thought that would be the worst part, and then this would just be like smooth sailing, easy times, fun times and whatnot, and it can be. I do want to say though, having gone through all this and knowing how hard it is, how shocked I am that this is the baseline, that this is expected of people, of society, especially women, to go through and become mothers. Like you're bizarre to society if you don't have kids. This is hard and it's no joke, and I don't think it should be for everyone. There's no way this is the baseline. This is like the bare minimum for people to do. This is a lot and not for everyone. So a lot of the questions had to do with what the hardest thing has been and what like the best or easiest thing has been. So let's talk about the hardest things about being a parent. Number 1, sleep deprivation. That's hands down the hardest thing. And I'm someone who needed 9 hours-ish of sleep, and I needed sleep. I was not someone who could stay up late. I wasn't someone who could pull an all-nighter, never have, never will. For me, the hardest part by far is the sleep deprivation. I actually get anxiety and heart palpitations at night still because of what we've been through with her sleep. And I think my heart is still a little affected by what it went through, which is a little bit scary, to be be honest. It's like a side tangent here. And I do want to go to my general doctor to get it checked out because I still get high blood pressure. I had preeclampsia in pregnancy, which is why I had to have her at 37 weeks. I am a little nervous about it because it's stress induced. Like I can tell it's stress induced, but at the same time, I feel like I have a little bit of like trauma from the sleep deprivation that I've gone through in her life. Like it is no joke. Baby sleep in general is really, really hard. Getting them to sleep. I don't sleep train. I don't want to sleep train in any capacity really. I'm just not, it's not for me. I can't do the crying. That gives me more heart palpitations and anxiety than her not sleeping. I'd rather her not be sleeping than screaming in her crib. You know what I mean? Like I can't do the crying and the screaming. I just won't do it. But doing baby sleep, like following a schedule or following sleep cues, wake windows, it's just kind of wild how society is so obsessed with baby sleep. Like we're so obsessed with it. And it's like, now I just kind of follow her lead when it comes to sleep. Like she has a schedule, but that's because she kind of set that schedule for herself. She goes to sleep at 6 p.m. I didn't set that up for her. She just wants to go to bed at 6 p.m. every day. And I'm like, you know what? You do you. But just getting your baby to sleep on a regular basis, yikes. The next hardest thing about being a parent is eating. Not you. Getting them to eat. I did not think for 1 second I would have anxiety about her eating. Not for a second. And then soon as 6 months happened and we started doing solids, my anxiety kicked in. I think I dealt with or suffered with a little bit of postpartum anxiety and it just like amplified with starting solids. I thought she was gonna choke and die on every single thing we gave her, including purees. I was so nervous, so controlling over what she ate, who could feed her, like, oh my God. Even still, I'm still nervous and I feel best when I can control what she's eating and what her portion sizes are, like how big to cut things. I'm neurotic about baby eating and I hate it. I hate this anxiety around it. On that note, with the baby eating is when they finally transition from formula to cow's milk and they can't have too much of it. No, they can't have more than 16 ounces a day because then they can't absorb iron. So you have to limit the milk. She went from like having over 30 ounces of formula to 16 ounces of milk. You know what has to fill in that gap? Food that I have to make 3 meals a day for and 2 snacks. She doesn't eat that. Nope, she doesn't eat. She was born a picky eater, okay? I have tried everything. I give her everything every single day. I make her meals every single day. She doesn't eat it. She doesn't eat it. And it's like, you have to eat. So it's definitely one of the hardest things is just like the transition from milk to solids and then from, oh, that's not for fun anymore. You actually need to feed them nutrients. Like you have to get them to eat vegetables. And that's another thing that's frustrating. Even if you know they won't eat it, you have to make it. You have to present them with enough calories. As long as you offer enough calories to them, you're doing a good job. You don't have to like force feed them the food, right? They're gonna have like an unhealthy relationship with food if you force feed them. You can't do that. So you just have to like present it and then it ends up on the floor. And it's like, why do you even try, you know? But you have to try. You have to give it to them. You have to try different things and let them feel it out. And eventually one day they'll eat it. But until then, you just have to make it for nothing. You end up eating a lot of food that you don't want just to not waste it, you know? Then another hard thing for me, asking for help. Never been someone to ask for help ever in my life. And sometimes I don't have a choice and I don't like that. I feel out of control. I feel like a bad mom if I can't do it all myself, which is so unhealthy. And then the last thing that I would say is the hardest is the absolute selflessness you have to dedicate to them. And overstimulation doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're hungry, tired, sick. I was sick with her. Oh my God, worst experience of my life. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that you feel like you can't even stand up because you have a fever. That does not matter. So I miss those days for sure of like just being able to rot in bed for a full day to recover from an illness. You can't do that. Now the best thing by far is the most cliche, but obviously this is why people do it. This is why people have kids, is the love. The unconditional love that you feel for them. You just cannot fathom it until you have it. I thought I loved my cats a lot, okay? And to parents that might sound silly, but I literally said to Ryan, I'm like, I don't know how I can love my cats or love something else more than my cats. Or like you, my partner, you know what I mean? I just couldn't think of it. I did not know what that feeling was. And then, you know, I had her, and I'm embarrassed to say that now. I'm embarrassed to say, well, I love my cats a lot. It's like, no, that is not the same at all. I just love looking at her, every piece of her eyelashes, her color of her eyes, like everything, and just think like I made that in my body. Like that is so wild, and it's so beautiful to me because she's half me, half Ryan. I see so much of Ryan in her, and I just think it's like such a great expression of love for your partner as well, to create a human being together that looks like half you, half them. It's insane. Like the feeling when you look at your child is so wild and indescribable. And I just cannot wait until she's an adult. I can't wait to hang out with her when she's an adult, as long as, you know, I do my job and I don't give her trauma and she actually wants to hang out with me. But in like 20 years, we go to the movies together, you know, we're having dinner together. I can picture it because she has such a personality already. And like that just gives me so much excitement and hope and joy for the future. And I just cannot wait for those moments. Let's talk about mom guilt. You will never feel like worse of a person in your life than when you're a mom. You'll feel like the worst mom in the world. You will feel guilty all the time, and no one will make you feel more guilty. There's tons of mom shaming out there. Don't you worry. You get that too from society, from social media, but you will do it the worst to yourself. Yeah. All of your choices, you're like, did I do that right? Was that enough playtime for her? Was she stimulated today? Did she have a fun day? You try your absolute best. You will give it your all, and then you'll go to bed and be like, I'm the worst mom ever. She had a terrible day. I always feel like it's my fault if she's not eating or not sleeping, or she's grumpy and fussy and whatever, and she has gas. I'm like, great, like I did that for some reason. It's always my fault, right? But I do believe that if you're constantly worried if you're doing a good enough job, then you're doing better than most, because I think bad parents don't debate in their head every day if they're bad parents. So just worrying about it, I think, makes you a better parent than some. But then at the same time, you're gonna have days where you feel like you got this and you have that confidence because you're nailing it, they're happy, they're eating, they're sleeping, and you feel like the best mom ever. So it's really that juxtaposition. Something else that I learned is that everything is so gradual, but media, society, Google, I Googled everything her first year, it's the new mom's best friend, don't do that, will make it seem so black and white. Like sleeping, they think, oh, after 4 months or so, you can start sleep training, then they sleep through the night forever, and they're good to go. It's like, that is absolutely not the case for every single baby. Are you kidding me? And eating, at 6 months, you start introducing solids. Good luck with that. Also, at 1 year, they have to start eating food primarily as their main source of calories, not milk. Good luck with that. It's like, no, these things can be gradual as well. You can gradually increase their food intake, decrease their milk intake. It can happen on a gradual basis. Just like talking, they learn to talk and walk. It takes months of practice usually before they can actually do those things. Why are we all of a sudden putting this pressure on babies to sleep and eat overnight? You know, we wouldn't expect them to wake up one day and just start saying sentences. It's like, this is a gradual process. Everything's gradual, everything. Now, the most important thing that I have done in this year is still prioritizing my hobbies when I can. Newborn stage, absolutely not. I mean, I went to a movie 2 months in, I think. I went to the theater for the first time. That was incredible. Anxious the whole time. Anxious, I just wanted to be home with my baby. But I forced myself to do it because I wanted to make sure that I was prioritizing my hobbies and stuff when I could. And I know that might sound selfish. Like I said, there's a level of selflessness that you have to dedicate in your parenthood that is unreal. But I think that's within reason, and there are times where you can prioritize your hobbies. I think what has happened is millennial parents specifically have put in their head, like ingrained in themselves, that they have to sacrifice every single waking moment to their child and not letting their child get bored. Like, don't get me wrong, I would do absolutely anything for my child, okay? But I don't feel like I have to give up puzzling for her. You know what I mean? If I want to read a book, I don't have to give those things up for the sake, I'm not sacrificing anything in her life by doing those things. You know what I mean? Like for her to thrive, I don't have to sacrifice every single thing about myself that makes me a human being. Because at the end of the day, I am a human being. I have my own personality, my own needs, my own interests, and my own hobbies. And I deserve to express those and invest in those, invest time into those just as much as anyone else. It's just moms are human beings who have needs as well, and we don't need to sacrifice anything. And in my opinion, we actually shouldn't sacrifice everything, because if we do that, then we are nobody. We are not going to be at 100% for our children. The more time that we take for ourselves to feel like a human and feel like our own person is just going to make you a better parent for your child. And I was so worried I would be a shell of the person that I used to be and lose all of these things about myself that I loved because I had a child. I love horror, and I thought I'd have to sacrifice that for her because that doesn't really mix well with a baby. I thought I would have to fit into this new mom mold that I created in my mind for I thought a mom was a certain type of person, and I needed to change everything about myself in order to fit into that mold to be a good mom. And you absolutely do not have to do that, because every single mom is going to find their own mold to fit into on their own. Like every mom is their own mold. Like you're your own person. You're still going to have your interests that you love. You're still going to have your hobbies. You will find time for yourself eventually. It's going to take some time before, one, you feel like you even want time for yourself, because let's be real, postpartum anxiety. The first year, you absolutely will feel like you don't own your body, especially if you're breastfeeding. That's a whole journey in itself, or pumping, exclusively pumping. Respect to those who exclusively pump, because oh my God, I hated pumping. And you'll always feel like your needs aren't being met. Like in some capacity, some need of yours is being neglected, at least for a year. I'm a year into it, and I feel like I'm slowly getting a little bit back. Obviously sleep deprivation still going strong, but I'm starting to slowly feel better and finding time. I can read physical books again, which is great. She goes to bed and she's down for about 3 hours, so I know I can get either a movie in or I can read. So finding those moments for myself where I have to prioritize. I can't doom scroll as much anymore because I got stuff to do. I'm on the clock here. I got 3 hours. I gotta make food for myself. I gotta watch a movie all within that time. It's not the same, but it's getting better, and I'm finally finding that time. Okay, the last thing I want to do is answer some specific questions that I asked for on Instagram. A lot of questions about my relationship. How did your relationship change for the good or for the better? What was the hardest thing about your relationship, or like any challenges? Obviously it's hard. Obviously it's very challenging on your relationship. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be the ultimate test of your relationship. I think checking in with each other is good. I'll ask Ryan, like, what are your goals for today? Like, what do you absolutely need to get done today? I'll tell him what I absolutely need to get done today, and then we'll do shifts if we need to. And just that open communication really helps. But honestly, I feel like we are so much closer. Our quality time together is enhanced so much. We don't take that time for granted anymore. Before we were living alone together, it's like every day could be date night, you know what I mean? But now that when we get those moments when she goes to bed and like we actually decide, okay, we're gonna watch a movie together, we're gonna cook dinner together, have some wine, and it be one of those nights, it's like we cherish that so much more. So in a way, it's really made us appreciate our closeness and like how we are in a relationship together. Did you ever feel 100% ready to become a mom? Absolutely not. I've always wanted to be a mom, like I said, and I got pregnant at 32 and I was like, well, this is it. Like, I don't have a choice. I felt like I didn't have a choice, which is silly, but it's like, I want this so bad. Why do I feel resistant to it? Like in the moment when I found out, I was not excited, and I've shared that with you before. And the excitement grew, don't get me wrong, but initially I was scared. I was scared more than anything. I wasn't unhappy or anything. I was scared and felt not ready to let go of my life. I wasn't ready to make the sacrifices that I thought I needed to make. But I don't think you ever feel 100% ready. There's no way, because you can't anticipate what you're actually going to experience. So you'll always be scared about something. Like there's no way you're mentally prepared for every single thing. There's no way. So no, you never feel ready. Sometimes if you know it's something you want to do, you gotta do it. I don't want to tell people to have children. That's weird. But if you know it's something you want and you're scared, or you're like, well, I want to wait till I'm ready, it's like, you're never gonna be ready mentally. Maybe not even financially or physically. I don't know. We had a kid in a 1-bedroom apartment. Like that's where we lived in her first couple months of life, was a 1-bedroom apartment. Okay. Hardest and easiest ages so far. Hardest is newborn and toddler. Brand new toddler, definitely. She's fighting her nap right now on the monitor. They're a lot at this age because they can't communicate yet, but they have needs. They have needs, man, let me tell you. Newborn also because they don't sleep. But they are little potatoes, so you can put them anywhere and they're fine. Like, you know they're gonna be there. When you walk away and you come back, they're still gonna be there because they can't move. And then 8 months, I really loved. Around 8 months was a really good time. I feel like she wasn't too mobile. Like, she was a little bit delayed in crawling, so she could just like army crawl, and it took her a minute to get places. So I could like walk away for 2 seconds and come back, and she was kind of in the same area. And she was just so much fun. She started laughing and like babbling. And then a year, right before this age, because she's almost 14 months now, right around like 11, 12 months was really, really fun, and definitely on the easier side. Right before you have to switch to full solids and feeding them 3 times a day with 2 snacks, right before that happens, where that pressure isn't there, that was easier because you would just rely on the formula or breastfeeding, whatever you're doing. How did you survive sleepless nights? That's the only thing I feel scared of. Rightfully so. Someone else said, when does the sleep get better? I have a 4-month-old and I'm single mom and I'm struggling. As a single mom, I have so much respect for you, first of all. I can't say it gets better than 4 months. I remember 4 months, very, very tricky. The sleepless nights, how to get through them. I got wireless headphones. These are just some knockoff AirPods or whatever from Amazon. I got those. I'd pop one in and then I could scroll on my phone. I breastfed for the first 8 months of her life, and we did combo feeding as well after 5 months. But anyway, I would just be constantly breastfeeding. I was just a cow. I was the cow. I would end up watching movies on my phone. I would read books on my phone. I don't remember any of those because of the postpartum fog that I was in. I downloaded the Libby app on my phone so I could rent or like check out books from my library on my phone and just read them on my phone. So those really helped in those moments. Obviously the advice of sleep when the baby sleeps is fair. I always prioritized sleep, so that advice to me was valid and I took that. And I did not clean. I didn't clean. I was like, I don't care. I don't care that I need a shower. I want to sleep. That's the main need that I need met right now. I could spend this time during her sleeping or her nap or whatever to like clean and do other things. No, I'm sleeping. A year in, how do you feel about having more kids? There were definitely moments last year sporadically where I'd be like, I'm done. I don't want any more. Like, I can't do this again. Especially early on in recovery from, from birth and everything. I was like, I don't want to do that again. Now, that's a different story. I think we definitely will try to have another one again. And my ideal age and time frame would be when Fern is about 3-4 years old, which is putting me at, what would I be, 35, 36 years old. So pushing it a little bit, especially because my first pregnancy, I had preeclampsia. So automatically my next one's gonna be high risk and I'll be over 35, which is geriatric. So it's gonna be a high-risk geriatric pregnancy, so we'll see about that, but I want another one. I do. I'm an only child and Ryan has 3 siblings. So we go back and forth on what would be best for Fern and just generally what we want to do as a couple, like how big we want our family. 2's my max, 2 pregnancies, my max. I'll stop at the next one, whether it's a boy or not. I don't really care. I genuinely don't care about the gender of the next one. I always wanted a girl. I know gender preferences are kind of controversial, but I always wanted a girl. I always knew I was gonna have a girl. Like, I just feel like I always knew that. So my first being a girl, the next one, I don't mind whichever gender they end up being. Anyway, Fern is really fighting her nap. So that's all the questions I'm gonna answer for now because I've been filming forever and I need to go grab her because she is sleepy and grumpy. Hope this is helpful to those of you who are debating becoming parents. Leave any more questions down below and I'll answer them. I'll just type out my answers to you. I'll reply to your comments. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you again to Billy for sponsoring this video and I will see you soon. Bye.